Hey, for this video, I wanted to go through and just share a little bit of what we did in DESMOS on Friday, or you attempted, and then we can talk through some of the aspects of the things you weren't sure about and see what's going to be taught this week as well. Okay, so let's start with number one. It said, what is which is the best approximation for the square root of 45? So one thing that you could have done if you weren't sure is, first of all, analyze the words in the sentence, say what is the best approximation, not a or an approximation. So some people chose 6 and some people chose 7. Even if you were just deciding between those two, there is a better answer or a best answer between 6 and 7. I would have gone with 7 myself, because if you look at the perfect squares, 36 and 49, on a number line, and where 45 falls is right about here. So if you take the square root of 36, you get 6. The square root of 49, you get 7. And if you took the square root of 45, that would be closer to 7. So 7 is a better approximation if you were to round. Okay, so that's one thing. All right, secondly, now that we've decided between 6 and 7, there are two other answers that we need to consider: 6.5 and 6 and 9/13. 6.5 would be like in the middle of the number line, and then 6 and 9/13 I think falls pretty close to where we are. So what you need to do is maybe just pull out a calculator if you weren't sure how to do this one, and go ahead and take the square root of 45 in the calculator. You can round it to 3 decimal places, 6.708. Now if we look at 6 and 9/13, if I just divide 9 by 13 and look at that decimal, it's 0.692, which is pretty close to what we have here, 0.708. Those are relatively close to each other. So the best approximation is 6 and 9/13. Okay, and as you can see, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that chose that. All right, let's go to number 2. Radical 35 is between which two integers? And it looks like the majority of students got that one, as you should. It's between 5 and 6. Okay. Only 17 people attempted it out of the 19 that did the exercise. That's where the 2 people didn't try it. Radical 92 is closer to 9 than 10, so you'd want to take the same approach that I just did with number 1 and simply just draw a number line. Look at the 2 perfect squares that 92 is in between, so that would be 81 and 100. Okay, and then where would you place 92? Well, it's 8 away from 100, and it's 11 away from 81, so it is definitely closer to 100. Okay, so let's make your decision. Let's look at the distance between those two. And it says radical 92 is closer to 9 than 10. That would be false. It's closer to 10 than it is to 9. Okay.
I hereby decree that all irrational, crazy, non-repeating numbers are banished from my kingdom.
Which point on the line is the best estimate for radical 15? So if you take a look at the number line, there are some decimals there ranging from 3.8 to 3.92. So I don't know, just go ahead and take radical 15 in the calculator. 3.87, 3.8729, somewhere in there. So you're looking for 3.87, which would be in between right here, 3.86 and 3.88. So I'm going to go with that one. Okay. Hope you've stayed with me so far. True, false. Radical 34 is irrational. Well, yeah, because it's crazy. The king wanted some more airtime. Radical 72 is closest to which number? So if you were to put it on number line and look at where it falls, radical 72 is right in between 64 and 81. So I think 8.5 would be pretty good. Yeah, so it says which number. Does it say it has to be a whole number? Okay, which of these is it closest to? 8.5 is definitely the one you would want to look at there. Again, put it in the calculator. Take a look first. It takes just 10 seconds to do that. Oh yeah, really close to 8.5. Okay. We got a little compare and contrast, or just compare. Radical 22 to 4.7. So what you want to do is lay out radical 22 on one side and 4.7 on the other. Take the square root of 22, 22, I can't talk. Hello, 4.69. is less than 4.7. So 4.7 is greater. Very good. We got some people choosing equal. They're not. They can't be equal. One is rational, the other one's crazy, and a rational number cannot be equal to a crazy number. Okay.
How about you try teaching these kids something? That would be refreshing.
Okay, so now that you know my method for trying to figure out where it's closest to or what it's in between, it would be good for us just to preview, how to find a rational number that is close to a crazy number. Okay, so let's start with a crazy number. Won't get too out of hand here. Let's go with the square root of 71. And all I want to do here is place this number in between two perfect squares. So start multiplying numbers in your head, like 6 times 6 and 7 times 7, 8 times 8. Ooh, 8 times 8 is 64. That's just a little less than the square root of 71. So we'll put a square root of 64 right there. And then, so that was 8 times 8. 9 times 9 is 81. That goes here. Now again, if you want to put it, on the number line, where would it be closest to? So 71 is 7 away from 64, and it's 10 away from 81, so it's slightly closer to 64. So let's just nudge it that way a little bit. Okay, less than half. And then what I want to do here is note that this is 8. Square root of 64 is 8. This is 9. So it's in between 8 and 9, so it's 8 point something. I'm going to put a big 8 as the whole. And then instead of a decimal, I'm going to put a fraction bar and just calculate the distances that were involved in 71 traveling on this number line. The first distance you want is how far away is it from the first perfect square that you traveled past. So you're walking along, and you go past 64 and you hit 71. Well, that was a distance of 7 units. That number becomes the numerator of the fraction. The other number that you need was, or is, the distance overall that you could have traveled in between the two perfect squares, from 64 all the way over to 81. So 64 to 80 is 16, plus one more is 17. You could have gone a distance of 17. You traveled 7 of those units. This is what we call a rational approximation, because see how it's a fraction now? Okay, so it's a rational approximation, something that's really close to this crazy number. Okay, so these two should be fairly close to each other when you look at the decimal expansion for each one. Let's go ahead and calculate that. Pull up the calculator here. And the lesson's almost over. Give me 30 more seconds. 71 square root is 8.426. Rounded, of course, to the nearest thousandth. And then if you do 7 divided by 17 and just assume the whole number of 8, it'd be 8.41. It'd be 412 if I round the thousandth digit. So look what we have here. We have 8.41, and that one's a 2. So you're off by a hundredth there. And if you look at here, you got 12 and 26. So that's what, 14. So you're off by 14 thousandths. Okay, that's not bad. That's a pretty close approximation for what we just did in a handful of seconds. I'll take it. All right, so that's the next lesson we'll be getting into. That we have to investigate how to do this well. It's a good numbers game. It challenges you mentally, and you have to know, that some numbers are crazy and you can't make them into fractions, but you can get close, so we can use them. That king's a jerk.